In other words, China won. So no matter what they tell you in coming years, that's what happened. That's what actually happened. Remember it. David Marcus just wrote an amazing piece for the New York Post calling for an immediate end to the city's lockdown. We're happy to have him on tonight. David Marcus, thanks so much for coming on. So if you would just summarize for us why you wrote this piece and why you think these lockdowns, which we've been told day after day are so important, should end.
I wrote this piece this weekend when I saw images of New Yorkers at about 4:30 in the morning, hours before this Catholic church opened, that was offering food because they were hungry and they needed food. And when I saw those images is really when I went from being frustrated with Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio to being furious because people are going hungry, small businesses are being destroyed, jobs are evaporating, our kids aren't being educated, people can't get cancer screenings. And the governor sits there on his TV show every day and acts as if what we're complaining about is that there's nothing to watch on Netflix. It's bizarre and it's infuriating.
Why do you think someone as ambitious as Andrew Cuomo, ambitious politicians tend to pay attention to what the public wants, are so completely tone deaf, oblivious to the suffering, the pointless suffering of the population? Why doesn't he get it?
I don't think people have much of a voice right now. I mean, first of all, they're stuck at home. But I think Andrew Cuomo is also in a situation where it's become abundantly clear that he bungled this, particularly in regard to the nursing homes, in deadly ways. And I'm sure that he is very, very nervous about making any more mistakes. But that's not good enough. We need leadership because the city of New York is dying. And it has to open now or we're not going to be able to save it.
So, I mean, from friends and family and coworkers who live in New York, you get reports of Midtown basically occupied only by vagrants. Like, that's it. Just sort of every public space has been taken over by mentally ill drug addicts. I wonder if a city like that, like, what will it take to bring a city like that back to functioning?
Well, the problem is that every hour that goes by, bringing the city back becomes harder and harder because every day there's another business owner who realizes that he's run out of whatever that capital is that he had to keep him floating for what is now 2 months, that he doesn't have another month, that he doesn't have another 2 months of rent. And you can do a PPE, and, you know, I understand that, you know, Bill de Blasio thinks that there's some giant pot of gold somewhere that evil Republican leprechauns are hiding from him, but there isn't. The only way the city gets back to work is by getting back to work. It's the only way that it creates the funds that are needed to do all the things that the city and the people in the city need to do. And right now, I mean, do you have any indication of when this really ends? I mean, have either Cuomo or de Blasio said anything that makes you think, you know, oh, in August this will be somewhat back to normal? I haven't.
I mean, the city's been through so much, you know, so much over a couple of centuries, several centuries. This really feels like this man-made disaster could set it back maybe more than anything that's ever happened there.
I'm very worried about it. This is very different than 9/11. This is arguably much more similar to the sort of bad old days of the late 70s and into the 80s that Rudy Giuliani was able to bring the city out of. But you're absolutely right. If when these neighborhoods supposedly come back to life, 40-50% of those businesses are gone and people don't have jobs. Yeah. See, here's the thing. This has been economically painful so far. It really has. We are very close to it becoming an absolute economic catastrophe. And I have absolutely no confidence that either the governor or the mayor appreciate that fact at all. In fact, I'm pretty sure they don't.
At some point, probably long after I'm dead, somebody smart is going to write a book explaining how such a great country got such horrible leaders, which really is the beginning and the end of the story. Bad leadership produces terrible results. Yeah, David, thank you so much for coming on tonight. What a great piece that was, and your explanation, I thought, summed it up perfectly.